Hey there, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Lost in Our 40s, a podcast for women by women, where we talk about every topics that affect our everyday lives. Welcome, Sana. Karibu Sana, and welcome in. Hey, so welcome on in. This is that Kahezi week, that week between Christmas and New Year, where there's just a lot of eating and a lot of laying around. And what I thought actually is that this is the opportune time to introspect, to be thinking about yourself, ourselves. Why everyone often does New Year's resolutions, things that they'll do new in the new year, which is fine, and nothing against that. But what about what got you where you are? What about taking some time to note what has gotten you to where you are today? So, a bit of looking, not so much back, but looking in. Yes, there'll be some looking back, but looking in and trying to find your own light and your own opinion and perspective about things that you might have found yourself in. I really have to note this plant just makes me happy. It had died. Honestly, it had died. Then it just started sprouting new leaves, and then I was really sad when it was dying because I was thinking, "Oh, I really like it for the videos because it just looks artsy and this is real. It's a real plant." And someone told me that it's called a money plant. And I was super happy I went with the word. In Kenya, we have our money plants, which are not this at all. They're these crawly plants that you put along the. It grows up, it grows down, you just put a string and it grows along it. But I was like, I'll take it, I'll take it. A money plant, I'm all about money. So let us look at this. So these are heavy topics, by the by. We are not just doing things high at a high level. No, 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 no. We are going deep. And the first super deep one we're starting with is religion. Dang, 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 dang. So we are talking about these are things to question: self-reflection, introspection. So what do you think about your own religion? Like, how did you come to be whatever it is that you are? And have you ever, most of us are born into whatever it is that we are. So I was raised Catholic, born into a Catholic family, and attended Catholic school for a big part of my life. So there was not too much thinking about it. I would attend mass, I'd go for weekday masses, I sang in the choir, I was part of the youth group. That was just where I found myself in life. So a lot of us have that. And then you always hear these stories about, especially around, it's especially when there's a crossover. And in my community, anyway, Kenya has a large population of. It's mostly Christian, but we have a lot going. We have a lot of Islam. We have a lot going on in terms of religion. So in fact, even in school, we are taught Hinduism. We are taught many things, and this is in primary school. So we have a very broad view of religion growing up. We understand that there are all these other religions, and that's not the problem. But whenever, especially when there's someone moving over from Christianity to Islam or Islam to Christianity, that is such a big deal. That it's like how, like why, like what, and quietly I admired those people because it told me that they had taken the time to reflect about their faith so deep that they had decided that they wanted to make a change. And this is not so much when it's about marriage. That's a different story altogether. But someone who moves from this to, like when I was younger, in a totally Christian setup, I had my friend's sister was Hindu. So you have all these. Was she Hindu or Buddhist? I can't remember what she was, but either way, it was something completely different, and it's interesting. It's interesting because it tells me, look, you over and above just being born here and told this is where you're meant to be, you fit into this nice little box. It's this inquiry about why this box. What does this box have that's so special? Because a lot of religions, unfortunately, teach that they are the only religion. The everyone else is going to hell. We are the ones on the right path. Frankly, I've never believed that. That just the God I serve is a loving God. He's not going to just let people die because they happened to have been born in a certain community. So that's my take on it. So the introspection, and I'll say this lightly because Christianity and Catholicism doesn't really. There are certain areas that you're not meant to query. And that for me is something that I did because I was just curious. Then, whenever you go somewhere, and I am a lawyer, so when you go somewhere and you're told you can't ask questions, it made me even more curious. So, it's an invitation to delve in. So, the faith that you have is convenient to the extent that it's just what everyone around you has and it's just where you've always been and no reason to question it. But I do believe that questioning is what gets us to a truer understanding. What if one of the teachings that are there is a teaching that doesn't align to you? And that's really one of the things, because it's there's a word for this. When the one time I can use this word, I've forgotten what the word is. But when your beliefs, when you have two things that, it's a discordance, is it? When you have two things that are opposite but seemingly true at the same time. So you yourself, within yourself, you have a feeling about something that is true to you, and yet there's something that's being taught that then you feel must also be true, because that's what you've been taught, and what you've been taught is true. So getting to those kind of situations is super powerful, according to me, because then this is getting to query. You're scratching way below the surface, because now you're actually going into an understanding, a deeper understanding of yourself and of your faith. And that's really beautiful. I believe wherever it leads you, I believe it's very beautiful, because there's more to life than just in the book. I never finish these sentences. There's more to life than just coasting through, and I shouldn't say I never do. So much training. In the book by Napoleon Hill, In Conversation with the Devil, something like that. What the devil in that book says is that he loves people who just coast through life. They call it drifting through life, never querying anything, just finding themselves where they are and going with the flow of the stream that they find themselves in. Because the devil there says that they're very easy to manipulate, because you can insert whatever teaching you want and it shall never be queried. And it's a very interesting concept, that having a say in, or having input, or having an opinion, even having an opinion about your belief system, is something first that you're allowed to have. It is your belief system. It's something that you can have. And nitpicking at these things is what brought about like the Protestant movement. That there was Martin Luther who came up and said, look, there's something about this that's not working. There was King Henry, what was it? The one with the wives. The one with the, anyway, that came up and said that for whatever reason, but he said that this piece of this is not working for me. And because of that, you've had all these changes. Good or bad, there you have it. You've had the changes that we today don't look at and query so much. It's not so much a question of how is this okay, it's just what we found. So maybe a number of years down the line, others will find other things that have been born from other people who queried and made their own decisions based on different facts. And if you arrive at the same decision, if you arrive at where you are now, I think that is absolutely perfect. But the point is, it's really good to have this engagement with ourselves. It makes us more involved, it makes us more engaged in our belief system. So we said this is going to be it's not easy, but you have time. You have until the new year, so something to spend time doing. Another one I have here is actually the holidays themselves. So Christmas. I say this with a bit of amusement, but Christmas and the New Year's and maybe even many other holidays, there are times when we find ourselves again doing the same thing over and over again, because it's what's always been done. And sometimes we don't even like it, we don't even enjoy it, but because this is the tradition, it must be done this way. And this is again the time to ask, do you really want all the overeating? As an example, that's what my society does a lot. We eat and eat and eat and eat, comatose on the couch, that kind of thing. And it could be great or it could be not. Up to you. Do you want to do something else? So just these questions. Questioning is liberating, because again you might come back to the exact same answer, that what you're doing now is perfect, but then you gain some insights as to why you like what it is that you're doing, what it is about the gathering that you've had over the Christmas time, that you liked or didn't like, and therefore what it is that you can change or not change, what you should spend more effort cherishing or not. Yeah, so again, something there to think about. um, ooh, this is a big one. I have here the body. What about your body don't you like? And maybe this isn't so much of a novel question, because I do think that we do spend a lot of time criticizing the things about our bodies that we don't like. But maybe with a twist to it, if you can find the line that takes you back to when you started disliking this part about yourself. And this is, I'll say it, it's very difficult. It's difficult because the messaging, especially as women, the messaging we get is so quiet, it's so everywhere that we don't really notice it. I was watching the other day Black Barbie. It's a documentary about the first Black Barbie that was launched. And in that documentary, there is a clip that shows a study that was done. I forget the name of the study, that had it was a doctor, I think, a doctor and someone else, like child psychologists, who went around to children and gave them a black doll and a white doll, and then just asked them a bunch of questions about the toys, about the black doll, what they think about the black doll, what they think about the white doll. And what came out from that study was the finding that black children found themselves worse off. They saw themselves in poorer light. And this was at a time when there were no black toys at all. There were no black toys. This was around, those were, what years were those? In the Americas, this is. In the US, at the time before schooling was open to both black and white. So you had these segregated schools. Yeah, and apparently this finding from that study was one of the things that led to the decision to desegregate schools, because it was so dumbfounding that such a incredible majority of black children, because they were being asked things like which is the good doll and which is the bad doll, if I just put it very simply, and they would say the white doll is a good one and the black doll is a bad one. And then they were asked, who do you associate yourself with more? And then they'd say the black doll, which then led to the understanding that these children saw themselves in society as less than, as being the bad players. And these are kids of 5 years old, for crying out loud. And this was showing the importance of, it sounded very silly then, and it maybe sounds very silly now, but maybe not. Now I think I see a lot more black dolls. But it wasn't so obvious that having a representation of self was something that was so important to these children. And growing up, I didn't have a representation of self on TV. Maybe a lot of you didn't either. This is something I've seen, especially the African countries, come up much more with in the last 10, 20 years. Take Afro cinema, things like that. We might laugh at, and I both love and hate Afro cinema, Afro cinema, the Nigerian movies, because the storyline can be so silly. But if you make the mistake of sitting in front of one, I did this, then I'd find myself just sitting in front of a movie. 3 hours later, I'm still there waiting for part two. So captivating stories. But point being, movies, TV programs that you see someone who looks like you, that really does make a super big difference. And I put this in line with body image, because again, even now, to some extent, I don't know, I don't watch too much TV, so I don't know too much about like the news agencies, but I think that's what they still do. You'd look for the version of pretty, and oftentimes the version of pretty is slender, light-skinned, long-haired, that kind of thing, which has been something that has been playing for a super long time, which then creates the notion that only people who look that kind of way are pretty. And it is, of course, not across the board. You do see different representations of people, but what are you seeing more of? And what do you see in movies? In fact, there's a time that I used to watch CSI. It was one of my favorite programs. And one day I looked at it a little more critically, and I realized that even the dead people are beautiful. beautiful in the what do I call it? The I don't know what to call it. Slender, long haired, certain features, everyone in that program, almost everyone, you could just put like a cookie cutter in terms, especially of form, and especially the body. No one was fat. Almost no one was fat. If there was anyone, even the people passing, the people walking in the background, there was no one who was fat. So immediately when you see that, you immediately get the notion that fat is bad. Every once in a while, there'd be a fat guy, man, who would be killed or something like that. Or fat men were something you'd see much more often. Fat women, not really. And fat is even going overboard. So you'd always have these tiny, tiny people, no one who's of any larger size, if I put it that way. And you don't notice it, but it comes to play. Because if this is all the TV I'm watching all the time, and that's just CSI, and you have all the CSIs, which incidentally I watched all of, but you have all the CSIs and you have whatever else it is that you watch. If you put that lens now when watching TV, you'll come to realize that this is some messaging that you're getting. You are being told that this is what you should look like, this is what is acceptable. Yeah. Yeah. And so all this to say, if you hate your body, it's possibly part of a construct that has been built into you. This feeling of smaller, feeling of less, this is something that society has to some extent been force feeding women over the ages. Because even the women who look a particular way, there's something wrong with them. There's always something that society can tell you is wrong with you, which is really, really, really sad, unfortunately. And it's something we need to become aware of, because it's like some brainwashing that's happening behind the scenes. It's like it's not something that your conscious mind is aware of, but it's happening in those back dark cupboards in the back where the filing cabinets are. So there's information that's been filed back there that you are not aware of. And then you see yourself and you don't like what you see. And it's like, let me give you an example. The other day, 3 weeks ago or something like that, I'd gone for some function. So it was a function at a bar. We were at a bar, and behind the bar there are these mirrors. So at some point I was having a conversation with somebody, and then I happened to look at my reflection in the mirror, and what I saw was a huge me. I was super huge, like an inflated balloon, like really, really big. And that is actually what I saw in the reflection in the mirror. And the immediate notion that came to my mind was, I look so big. I'm so out of place. I'm so big. I don't deserve to be here. This is not me. I shouldn't be here. And because these are things that I've started noticing, I was actually quite surprised by that. I was surprised by the image, but very happy that the realization that immediately kicked into my mind was, that is a false image. What you're seeing is not you. Because what you're seeing is someone who is like a size, I don't know what, 20, I don't know, whatever the bigger size is. And you bought this dress that you're wearing. It's a new dress. What size was it when you bought it? Yeah? It wasn't that size. Then what you're seeing is not real. Then I stopped looking at the mirror, I turned around and continued with my day. And I was very proud of myself, actually, of managing to do that in the moment, because it was almost surreal. It was something that then would have completely downed me. I would have then just felt completely out of place. I would have lost my confidence. I would have been unable to look at people. And that was just the size thing. Sometimes I get that with looks. I suddenly look at myself and then I think, no, you look terrible. You look awful. You look, no. So I'd be feeling, no, I don't want anyone to see me. I really don't look good. And now I'm realizing that this is something that is happening. That's not me. That's not me. The information that is being fed is not me, and it is not correct. And if I have the proof factor that shows that it is not correct, I realize now that is some kind of sabotage that I do not have to stand up for. my confidence now is no longer shaken by these. And this is a reflection from a mirror. So my confidence is no longer shaken by it because I can tell my internal system, no, I, I know the truth. And it's tricks like that that help, because again, it's some such teachings that we've been taught for such a long time, so much information that's there, and it's useful to be on the lookout, like in the example that I've given, because then you don't. I think we beat ourselves up quite a lot as women. We beat ourselves up whenever we're going somewhere. It's very easy to pick up at whatever it is we don't like at ourselves and go down a tangent and even refuse to leave the house. You don't have clothes to wear. You can't hide this thing. No. And it takes a lot of self-work, a lot of work with ourselves. And part of what I do is actually I spend a lot of time, well, a lot. I spend time in front of the mirror naked looking at myself, because I'm also just trying to change this imaging that I have that sometimes comes into my mind. And then I'm saying, but this is you. This is you. And you're okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you. So it's a small process. Initially, I really didn't like it. But over time, it's something that I've taken more naturally. It comes more naturally. And now I like my reflection. I'm always dancing in front of the mirror naked. And it's something that gives me the boost of confidence, such that when this false messaging starts coming in, then it's not true. And then I've added a new thing into my diary. I think I need a bigger diary next year. The new thing I've added is that I must state something, every day I state something physical about my body that I love. Yeah. So it's small things like that. And because if if all my time is spent looking at the things that I don't like about myself, I miss out about the things that I do like about myself. So it's like I'm trying to change my wiring. I'm trying to change how my brain has been taught to see me, how I have been taught to reflect about myself. And it's super empowering. Super empowering. So something for you to do as well in this week. Yes, in this lazy week, to see where the information has been coming in. Whatever it is you don't like about yourself, where has the information coming from? Who told you? Who told you that this part of you is not beautiful? And why did you believe them? And how can you change that belief system? Yes. Well, I have one more, but then I wonder if I don't have too much to say about it, but I'll just mention it. Your job, the work that you do. What do you think about it? And how did you end up there? How did you end up in the field that you are in? And if you could do it all again, would you end up in the same field? Would you do something else? And if you couldn't, I mean, if you would have wanted to change it but can't because of life, is there a hobby you can pick up that relates to the parts that you would actually have wanted to do? How can you salvage this so that you don't feel like you're spending all your time doing something that you don't love? Excuse me, sparkling water. We spend so much of our times at work, so much of our effort, so much of our time. So if you're engaged, if so much of you is engaged in doing something that you do not find fulfilling, this is like digging ourselves into that hole of disgruntlement. I don't like my life. There's nothing about my life that's good. And here I am. I just have to live it. No. Understandably, if finances will not allow you to throw it all up in there and decide that from now henceforth, this is what I'm doing, fine. But can you find an avenue to do something that you actually do like? Whether it's within the career path, whether it's making you money. It could just be an outlet for you to engage yourself in doing something that is meaningful to you. Because that little spark, the little spark of life that brings to you is priceless. Because on this channel, we are talking about making life better. We don't want to be in this drudgery. We don't want to be going through life not caring. We don't want to be the drifters, that Napoleon Hill was talking about in his book. We want to be able to make decisions. We want to be able to stand up for ourselves. We want to be able to have confidence. We want to be able to be strong in doing whatever it is that we're doing. We want to be able to access joy. And these are steps towards doing that. So, happy holidays. I appreciate you always. I truly appreciate you spending time with me. And I feel like now we're old friends. Kicking it back and having a chat. So, thank you. Thank you as always. And give it some thought over this time. And Happy New Year. Bye bye.